Hi, Mark.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I was by your store the other day. I almost stopped to say hello, but
Oh,
I was kind of in a hurry. Next time.
okay. Hi, Joe. Conway, how are you?
Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. Very good. How about yourself?
Hi, Dan. Attorney McGrail. Nice to see you.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Fran is here. Hi, Fran. Okay, it is 7:30 now, and we have a quorum. So since we have guests, and since we have a jam-packed agenda tonight, I want to start the meeting right now. Hi, Kathleen, glad you're here. And we will start with Dan, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag,
Flag,
States of
United
America,
States, America.
to the republic
Republic,
which
stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
And
justice for all.
justice for all. Thank you, Dan. All right, the next item on our agenda is public participation. I don't believe we have any public here. So I think we can trust that we will not have any public participation in this part of our. Oh, I see, we do have a guest, Lauren Stern. Did you want to
Lauren's with
offer
me.
any
Nancy.
public participation?
Nancy, Lauren is with me for 28 Lafayette Street.
Oh, okay, she's, the lucky homeowner, okay.
Yes.
Yes. Hi.
All right, we'll hear from you later then. All right, then we will go directly to a review of the minutes. I mailed them all, emailed them all out. Did anybody have any changes, any updates or any omissions, anything in the minutes that you would like to change?
No
Hearing
changes.
none, yeah, if I could have a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes as is.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Sorry, I'm rushing you along, but we do have a lot of things on our agenda tonight. Now, approval of an invoice. We have an invoice from the Wakefield Item Company for $360 for posting this meeting this evening. Can I have a motion to accept the invoice?
Motion to accept that invoice.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the invoice will be sent to be paid. And now we come to the first of our guests. We have with us Joe Conway, who is the Director of the Department of Public Works. Joe, you're very welcome. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank
And
you.
you want to talk to us about the AmeriCal.
I do. So for those of you who don't know me, it's a pleasure to be here. Joe Conway, Director of Public Works. And the reason why I am here actually is the AmeriCal. And I don't know, I have a couple of pictures and some things to just talk through really quick. I know we're up against that 8 o'clock public hearing, so I plan on being brief. But if I could share my screen, I'll get right after it. We can get into comments or whatever the commission may have. So
Oh, I
you
always
might-
do that. I'm sorry.
that's all right. I think you have to allow me to share, Nancy.
So I only do this Zoom once a month, so I'm not that good at it.
Nancy, you can make him co-host. That will work.
Okay,
So if you click on his name in the box, it will allow you to.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brian. It's good to have you around from
No
time
problem.
to time.
This should work.
He's a pro for sure. Okay, can everybody see what I have up? It's just a generic PowerPoint screen here.
Yep.
Okay, so one of the things that motivated coming to this group with this conversation, so it's been no secret, the town is now a green community. And one of the things that is on my staff's eyes and that of the town council is trying to reduce our energy consumption. So I could get into this and probably do, a 6-hour presentation on that, but I chose to just highlight very quickly related to the AmeriCal. But here, what you see is basically a breakdown of the 3 biggest energy consumers in town. The biggest being the public safety building, town hall, and the AmeriCal, which is to the left-hand corner of the chart circled about right here. So one of the things we were looking to do is see ways that we can offset some of the cost and then some of the energy that we used. One of the things we were looking at, we've had fantastic success so far twice with attaining state earmarks for solar arrays that are on some of the water department buildings down there. So we started looking at solar potential through basically every municipal roof in town and what that might fit the criteria for a good project. So what we ended up coming up with, believe it or not, the best roof in town is the south-facing roof of the Civic Center, and then the flat rubber roof over the front of the building. So what is going to be proposed, hopefully after we talk, is installing a solar array on this building. And what this will basically do is we could put a system up here that'll more or less put out about 110,000 kilowatts of electrical energy. And the average over the last 3 years of the amount of kilowatts that this building uses is about 132,000. So essentially what this would do is take 82% of the electricity that we use and pay for and take that right off the top. So it'll almost become self-sustaining. So what does this actually break down to in savings in dollars? Somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000 a year annually. Understanding the age of the building and some of the historic properties to that, before we got any further, other than doing some due diligence, we wanted to come in and talk to the commission to see if there are any thoughts and opinions about the feasibility of a project like this, given the grand benefit that it gets. So one of the things that we'd be looking at is, this is essentially an idea of what the panels we would use up there. It's actually a different panel than what we have currently on top of the water department. But what this is basically a low sheen, low profile, solid black, as visually unattractive or distracting as these solar panels can get. And if the commission were to think favorably of this project, this is what we would try to use in that. The only ones that would be seen are on that south-facing roof that borders the junior high parking lot. You wouldn't see anything on the rubber section because it would all be behind the parapets. There's just a couple more examples of the units that we would be thinking about using should we move forward. So essentially, what I'm here to do is have a conversation, see if the commission has any thoughts, opinions, any apprehension to potentially proceeding or trying to get a project like this accomplished, or take any comments or feedback that you might have and try to incorporate into something that will certainly be a big advantageous thing for the town. So with that, I promise you I'd keep it kind of short and sweet. So that's all I had to get into other than discussion.
Joe, would you go back to slide 3, please?
Absolutely. This one?
Yeah.
So what this is showing you, I probably should have done a better job explaining it. So where my mouse is here, this is the south facing roof. This is the flat roof. All of these little black squares are essentially panels. We're choosing not to do the CVS side, because you can see based on the heat map over here to the right, the benefit value is kind of diminished. So we're really just focusing on the majority of the south-facing side that'll really give us the best bang for our buck.
Okay, are the little windows that are in the roof, are they closed in, or are these going to go around those windows?
They would go around them. So those are notated in the white here.
Okay.
Those are unchanged. Those are updated when we did the roof project. Those would stay. These would basically just surround it. The only other thing that we would put on the roof at this time is along the gutter right here. We would probably do some snow clips just to make sure that any of the snow that's sheeting off doesn't become a potential danger to somebody walking below.
But there would be nothing that would protrude below the roof line.
Nope, absolutely not. Everything would be, I believe it's code, I have to be 3 feet off the edge. Don't quote me on that, but there's a distance I have to maintain from the edge. I also want to stay off the edges too, because we have gutters and flashing and, the soffits and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we have access and the ability to walk around that. And we'd also be off the ridge of the roof too. So there'd be a perimeter the whole way around that.
would these be removable?
Yes, so if we ever had any issues or any reason to have to dismount them, they all can be removed. Our goal would be to get them up and keep them going, and not get into the business of that. I don't know if there's anything specific you're thinking of with that question.
I was looking into this today with to see what other historical based organizations thought about solar for historic buildings. And that was a question that was raised again and again, saying that they should be removable. If possible, they specified that it would be good to not have them actually on the building itself. Have you considered that at all? Not on the flat roof, but have you considered having them raised off the ground, like at the ground level?
We could. The only I guess the only tough part with that is we have to build some sort of a structure for those to be on. I don't think walking the perimeter of the building, I don't think you have enough space to put these down, especially where you have the Boys and Girls Club and it's right next to a, not an elementary school, but relatively young children. If we were to think about doing something like that, we'd probably have to lean more towards of like a lean-to type shelter or carport in the parking lot, which could make it cost prohibitive. I don't know exactly what the requirements would be for the structural steel to be able to do that and handle the wind and the weight loads and whatnot.
So which buildings did you say already have solar?
So the two buildings at 108 Broadway. So there's three buildings on that property. There's one garage that was probably built in the 70s. We were able to get that through a grant and a rebate through the light department for free. We were also successful on a second set. In 2000, we built our water treatment plant. We have a set on top of that building too.
Okay. And how about like the Galvin? Could the Galvin have panels on the roof?
And my understanding is the roof is solar ready. That would be something we'd have to talk to the schools about. I know they're looking at their own energy conservation type work too, but it's certainly a possibility.
Joe,
Yes.
yeah, I know the roof was done just past year. A new roof was put on. Now,
Yep.
structurally, that'll support the panels.
Yes. Yeah. Everything structurally.
It won't damage any of the existing shingles or whatever they got up there.
No. So if we were to move forward with this, everything would basically be what we've already been used to twice now. So it wouldn't cause us any issues with material defect or anything like that. We've kind of actually gotten pretty experienced in this.
Was that flat roof replaced also at the same time?
This flat roof was replaced in fiscal 23. I think we replaced it. Excuse me, the end of fiscal 22. So we had a good year. We had a good year with roofs, and we were able to replace it through our operating budget. But that roof is less than 2 years old, and obviously the asphalt shingle roof is 3 months.
I really like the fact that you're keeping it off of one half of the roof, because the roof is such a prominent feature of the building, architecturally speaking. So I really like that. Personally, I can't see anybody that would be against solar. It's just a question of the best manner of using it in this building.
So, Nancy, I'm just going to give you my opinion. I'm not against solar, but of all the buildings in town, this is probably the most historically significant building that the town has. And I would rather see the Galvin, Town Hall, other places to go first and see whether or not we can get to net zero using, use of electricity before putting it on this particular building.
it certainly is a historically significant building, Fran. I think I would fight with you about whether it's the most historically significant one, but be that as it may, I wouldn't think that there would be any objections to having the panels on the flat roof. What do
No,
you think?
they would not be visible.
Right.
Yeah, my guess is you don't produce enough electricity by just having them on the flat part of the roof.
I mean, I'll put it this way, anything would be a bonus, and would certainly help us try to achieve what we're doing. It would just be different. It wouldn't be 80% of the total energy usage in the building. I'd have to recalculate those numbers and figure out exactly what that was. Just eyeballing it really quickly, it might be a third, give or take, depending on size.
The way that the pattern looks to me on the little drawing, the panels are kind of spaced out on the flat roof more
Yeah.
than they are on the slanted roof.
They are a little bit, basically the panels themselves would be snug right up against each other, but we do have more penetrations. So there's some air conditioning equipment and some exhaust, so some of the plumbing there. So that section, like down here to the bottom right, this is kind of off limits because we have other mechanicals in the way. The biggest, I guess the blankest canvas is this section right here. And then just to touch on the town hall piece, that is another option that we have looked at. The only problem with doing that first instead of this building is we need to replace one of the flat rubber roofs first. And we've just asked for that in capital for this year. And I don't know, I have a good feeling that will probably be funded, but I won't know that for a few weeks. This building is, as the way it currently sits right now, is the most solar ready out of any of the potential options.
Well, what does any other member of the commission have any questions or ideas?
Yeah, Nancy, with Francine talking about the Galvin, possibly putting panels there along with this. And you got a new DPW that might be going in where it is. I mean, it's almost, you could make almost an energy plant like they have up at the new high school with the Volk School. Look into that maybe.
I certainly will. I'm gonna be completely transparent. I'm not the foremost expert at that. I'll probably have to tap into the light department, but I would imagine
Need a DR might.
with that much electrical generation in that short of an area, there's definitely the possibility of another microgrid type situation being able to happen for sure.
Well, having heard Fran's objections, I think I would agree with her on the south facing slanted roof. But I don't see any reason why we couldn't try it, or you couldn't try it on the flat roof.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Fran, how do you feel about that?
I would agree with that. The part of the roof, the flat roof that they would not be seen, I think is acceptable.
And a good start.
Yes.
And who knows, this technology, I would think, is advancing so quickly that maybe alternatives will be found that won't be as visually intrusive on the roof.
We actually looked into whether or not there's some relatively youthful type panels that look like they're more almost integrated into the shingles. Unfortunately for us, we weren't able to locate anybody where we could go and see that, kind of explore what that process is like to this point. I'm sure you're 100% correct though, that, as time moves on, this will be completely different.
Okay, do we need a motion on this or? What do you think, Joe? Are you,
No, I don't need anything specifically. I just wanted to get some guidance. Clearly, I've received that, so I have my marching orders and we'll see what we can generate out of that lower roof, but I don't think unless the commission needs to vote or do anything specific like that, I think for all intents and purposes, my group is satisfied, so I would default to you on whether or not you think you need that.
Joe, were you saying this would produce 80% of the electricity for the building?
82, yeah. Yep.
And this building how is this heated? Gas or oil right now?
Natural gas. So we only have one building in town that's heated off of oil, and that's the Yule School. Right now, there's a tenant in that is responsible for paying their own oil.
So this could produce its own with electric heat.
There's a potential for that, sure. Yep, that
Yeah.
could be upgraded.
of course, the heating system at the AmeriCal is pretty young.
I think it is. I don't know the exact age. I think I know the cooling systems right around 16 or 17 years old that they did. I'd have to double check my notes and find out exactly what the boilers and everything are, but even having this up here makes it more advantageous to do like a heat pump water heater, different things like that. So
Then you have 2 EV charging stations on the side of the building also, I think.
correct. Yep. Directly adjacent to CVS.
Okay, well, unless any other member of the commission has anything to say, is everyone kind of in agreement with this?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. I was gonna say the same thing that you and Fran said about how I think in an ideal world, it would be good just to not have the solar panel seen, so. But you guys said that, so.
Kathleen, Mark,
I just don't think it takes away from the historical integrity enough to nix it right away. I think the benefits speak louder, saving 82%. But I think we can come to an agreement somewhere down the line, whether it's just having the first 2 rows of the solar panel on that south side, maybe, not sure. But obviously see what you can do with just the flat roof itself to satisfy the other.
I think I'd be more comfortable, frankly, with staying off of the south side and just waiting to see what technologies evolve for it. And just doing the flat roof would be my opinion.
I like the energy saving alone, just 82%. It's a sign of the times. Electric.
Well, I think we've given you our thoughts, Joe. And we very much appreciate your coming out to share this project with us. I think it's really exciting that the town is really, diving into solar and energy efficiency. So I think that's great. But our charge, of course, is to make sure that we safeguard the historic look and feel of the building. So, but it would be a start to put it on the flat roof.
Yep. Understood. So we will move forward aggressively pursuing the flat roof, and maybe we'll continue the conversation down the road, but we'll start there and see where that gets us first, for sure.
Sounds great.
All right. I appreciate the feedback from everybody.
Well, thank you for coming tonight, Joe.
Anytime.
All right, and we're back. Fran, I appreciated your feedback on that.
Yeah, I think there are other buildings in town that could perhaps go first. Where it wouldn't be as obvious or to take away from the look of that building. I mean, we don't have a lot of public properties. I mean, you can think about them. They're like on one hand, how many buildings that we are responsible for. They're redoing the public safety building. Is that on their list to put solar on their roof? And, there's a new high school, and now we have the Galvin. I think, you talked about the Yule School. There's a huge field on the Yule School property. So I think there are other places that they could consider before putting it on the American Civic Center.
Right.
As I say, in my opinion, yeah, that's
Yeah,
just my.
no, and your opinion is extremely well received and well taken. It is a kind of landmark building for sure, because it's wide open on that south
It is.
side.
It is.
And so many people, all those moms and kids and dads, going to the Galvin every single day, and the people going up and down Main Street,
And-
see the building.
You see what's going on with the vocational school and the trees. I can only imagine the feedback you're going to get if you're proposing changing the roof to the Civic Center.
Especially since it's a brand new roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's move on to our next. Oh, it's almost 8:00. And 8:00 is the magic hour for our public hearing. Our public hearing will concern the application to the building inspector to demolish 361 Salem Street, which I think that I sent you all information on. The building is a historic building. Dating possibly before 1765. It appears on a map of 1765. It may have been built by a member of the locally important Swain family. Jeremiah Swain in the 17th century was the commander of a lot of the forces in King Philip's War. And obviously, this is a later building, but it's the same family. And we're ticking down to 8:00. Sorry I feel like I'm wasting your time, but we have to wait until 8:00 to discuss it. Okay, it's 8:00. Does anybody want to offer any ideas about this potential demolition? Since it is a very historic building and a very old building, I would move to impose the demolition delay. Is there any
I
discussion
would
on this?
second.
Second from Fran. Okay. Any objection? Anybody want to be heard on this? Okay, hearing no objection. The vote is on Fran's motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? The motion carries. And we have arrived at the project of Lauren Stern and Brian McGrail on the proposed changes to 28 Lafayette Street.
Thank you.
Brian,
Thank
can I
you.
make you the co-host now?
If you could, that would be great. So thank you for having us, and thank you for putting us on the agenda. For the record, Brian McGrail, I'm the attorney representing Lauren Stern and Brian Prue, who are the proud owners of 28 Lafayette Street, and Lauren is with me tonight. This is somewhat of a unique circumstance. 28 Lafayette Street is a significant property on your list, and I believe it's also on the inventory of the Mass Historic. Lauren and Brian take great pride in that building and the historical aspects of it. And this is somewhat unique, as I said, because they're not proposing to raise the building. The building, and I think I can share my screen now. Let me do that. There we go. So this is the building, and the building originally did not have this garage structure. This was added on, and the building actually has had a couple of additions on it. And the one that's really the subject matter is a single-story addition in the back of the property, which I'll get into some detail on. And for the third time, I'll say this is unique, and we wanted to come before your board because I spoke to the building inspector about this, that they have no intention to raise the house at all. Their goal is to take down the single-story addition in the back and rebuild an addition, because that currently is where their kitchen is, and it's structurally failing. It has no foundation underneath it. It was actually built on tree stumps. So they've had their architect take a good look at it. And they want to take that down and rebuild it and put a second story on it, which I'll show you some detail on that. In talking to Ben DeCristoforo, the building inspector, I pointed out to him, I said, the demolition delay bylaw, talks about complete demolition, and this is complete demolition of a portion of the house. So we didn't want to just apply for a building permit and do this project. I think it's questionable whether it would have triggered the demolition delay bylaw, or the demolition delay bylaw would be applicable, because the whole structure isn't coming down. But we didn't want to do an end run on this. We wanted to face this and bring this to your attention and have a discussion with you about it. We're hoping that at the end of the day that you'll agree that the addition does not have an impact on the historical aspect of the main house. And in fact, Brian and Lauren take great pride in the historic aspect of this house. And I think their significant financial investment in it is actually going to help preserve this property in perpetuity, the key components of it. So with that said, this is the house, and I'm going to kind of take you through the architectural plans. So to orient you, at the top of the screen is Lafayette Street. And this is the garage that kind of was added on. You can see a portion of the main house actually has, this is like the basement plan. So the portion of the main house has no basement, but that's fine. That's not being taken down. That would be preserved. But where the one-story addition is on the back, there, as you can see at the basement level, there is no basement. It's just on grade. So now we go to, this is the, let me shrink this just a tad. this is the proposed basement. So what's happening now is, again, nothing's happening to the main structure of the house, but where that one story is, there's now going to be a basement that's going to be dug and connected to the house in the back. And also connected more appropriately to the garage. So again, going back up. Existing basement plan, nothing back here, but the addition is here. And now there'll be a foundation to put in. So now going to the first floor, this is the existing condition on the first floor. Again, this is the existing condition that they want to raise and take off and rebuild. This is the main body of the house, which is not going to be touched, demolished. So that's the existing. And this is the proposed. And you can see how that addition goes over a little bit because it's going to more appropriately, again, connect to the garage. So I'm going to go back up to show you. So this is the subject area. So that's our first floor. Now, currently, this addition where the kitchen was and is going to be, this is the existing condition on the second floor. There's nothing above it currently. And the addition that they're going to build is going to have a second story, which you'll see in a minute on the floor plan. So that's the existing second floor, and you can see it just shows the shingle of the roof. And they're going to put their master bedroom up on top. Again, in the back of the house and not touching the front. So that's a proposed second floor. And this will, I think this will really help bring it into play to show you. So this is the existing front elevation of the house. This is kind of a little bit deceptive because the garage is offset, as you know. It's not really even with the house. And this is the proposed. So there'll be a more appropriate connector to the house, but the main body of the house is not being altered. I'm going to go back.
And Brian, sorry, just to jump in to your point, the garage and the addition are set back from the historic structure. So that connection in between won't be like a flat rectangle that goes all the way
Yeah.
across. It's
Thank you, Lauren.
offset and back. Yeah.
And you'll see, yeah, thank you. And you'll see that we have actually a 3D that I think will be helpful to the commission. So that's the front. And this will help kind of explain. So this is as you're looking at the house, if you're coming up from Veterans Field, walking up Lafayette Street, correct, Lauren? This is that angle.
Yep, that's correct.
So this is the main body of the house, which is staying intact. This is the single-story addition that will be raised and reconstructed. You'll see that in a minute. So that main body doesn't get touched, but this gets rebuilt and it's 2 stories.
Is the addition roof going to be visible from the front? From this picture, it looks higher.
No, because you can see the peak, Francine.
Okay,
It's, yeah, and I'll go back because
that's the front. Okay.
Yeah, we've been working closely with a structural engineer to make sure that the roof lines all line up because the historic part of the house also has a really interesting and beautiful roof shape. It's not like a traditional peak. It's kind of octagonal's wrong, but it's got multiple angles. And we don't want to take away from that. So he's going to ensure that the roof line doesn't change with the rising of the addition.
so that's that angle. And this is on, so this is if you're coming from Town Hall on Lafayette Street, that side. And this is the single-story addition in the back. This is the garage. As you can see, it's, as Lauren had pointed out, it's offset. So that front picture was kind of deceptive where it looked like it was one big facade. And this is the proposed. So I will go back. It was hard to. And then finally, the rear, which is helpful. And I think is this kind of the roof line you're talking about,
Yeah,
Lauren?
that's the roof line I was talking about.
Yeah, that you want to preserve and not
Yep.
affect.
Was that little piece that goes between the main house and the garage, was that like a breezeway?
Yeah, it's a little mudroom that I believe was added around 2006 when they put the garage in. We only bought the house 2 years ago. It's interesting because it's not, there's living space in the garage, and that breezeway connects the house to the garage, but not to the living space. You actually go out of the house and then go up separately, a different staircase, and none of that is heated. So it's a little chilly at the moment. But yeah, it's nice to be able to get inside.
Lauren, can you tell the commission what's going on in this single story structure? Just some.
Yeah.
You've worked with your structural folks and you can probably articulate it better than me.
Sure. Yeah. So we have a structural engineer that we've been working with for a year and a half, almost exactly since we bought the house, because the initial post beams in the basement under the historic structure had powder beetle damage. And so the first thing that we did after we moved in is we brought someone in to evaluate that, and we shored up the original structure. So the original fieldstone foundation is still in place, but we put in additional columns, and someone came in and did work to reconstruct the beams where the holes were, like fill them with putty and stuff. And then he also took a look at that addition because the floor was sagging. And there is, in theory, a crawl space underneath it, but it's not a like fully dug out crawl space. It's just sort of like someone took a tractor and kind of dug out a little bit of space. And then there's 2 tree stumps and a couple of cinder blocks. And that's what's holding up that whole, it's a pretty large area. That's the kitchen to the house right now. And so there's no insulation. We've lost a couple pipes and freezes, especially this year, because all the pipes are just under there. It's accessible to animals. There's a hole in the fieldstone foundation where they ran all the piping and the gas lines out into the kitchen. So it's just open under into the actual structure of the house. So that's what's leading us to this request, is because we'd like to actually dig and put in a foundation and concrete so that it's structurally sound before we reconstruct the kitchen on top of it. So that's what's going on right now.
In the shoring up that you talked about with the post, that was the main structure, right?
That's all in the main structure, yeah. So we've been, while this project has been kind of in the works and we've been consulting with our architect, we've been working through some of the initial restoration and like reconstruction projects in the historic body of the house, which we do want to preserve, as Brian mentioned. So things like working to repair the chimneys. There was a chimney fire in one of them at some point, so there's a lot of brick damage. There's things like that that we're working through in the main historic part of the house. But the big structural piece is where that addition is. We think it was added on in the 1960s, and it's in not very good shape. So that's the part that needs to come down.
Thank you. So I'm gonna, this I think will be helpful too. So this is the back. So in kind of taking a look at that roof line, how it won't be affected, being preserved. This is what you're talking about with your architect, that you're making sure.
Yeah, so trying to keep that as much as possible, and then slope the new roof to allow snow to come off and rain and things.
So the next is a 3D, which I think is really helpful. So this is a 3D of the existing. It gives you a front look. You can see the setback, and then it gives you the rear look also with the main body of the house. And then this is proposed.
That's a lot of gables, huh? The house of the, how many gables?
I'll have to count them and then write a best-selling novel about it.
Well, the house is on the National Register, I believe, as part of the Church Lafayette District, and it was built around 1832 in the Greek Revival style. I have pictures, black and white pictures from our original survey in the 1980s.
I've got them, Nancy. I'll share them.
Okay, you
hold
got
on.
them?
Yeah, I do. I looked those up. I think the commission might be interested in that. Let me see here. I had them. There they are. Here we go. That look familiar?
Yep.
Yep.
That's what I got right here.
Yep. So this is all being not only preserved, it's being, really preserved by Lauren and Brian, as they mentioned, they're doing structural improvements in this main body of the house. And preserving it and fixing it. So that's that angle. And then this was aside from town hall. So this was obviously before the garage was built. And that's the piece in the back. But this whole main structure is being rehabilitated and preserved. And this, Nancy, is your history, I think, the significance that you talked about.
Right. Is this, I'm confused somewhat. Is this the house that was owned by Janine Fabiano? And
No, that's across the street.
that's across
From
the
us,
street.
yeah.
I'm on the wrong side of the street.
I think it might have
They're
been,
the blue one and we're the green one.
This was the Peterson's
that
house,
helps.
Nancy.
Oh. I understand now.
And this actually, the write-up actually references, that major alteration. It mentions I'm wondering, because it says 2-story additions, 1-story addition on the south, which would be,
Yeah. So
I'm
I
wondering,
think
I
that-
think that this piece at one point might have been an addition also.
it was an addition. So actually it's really cool. Sorry, I get excited about this. In our attic, we have some of the original shingles and like the original roof line from the 1830 structure is still there. And when they built the back part, that first addition, they just built right out from it. So there's like some of the roof of the 1830 structure in the attic, and then the roof just like continues out past it over it. So you can see where they added on. We think that that was probably late 19th century, but I don't know for sure. It's one of the things on my list is to go do some archive research at the library, but I haven't had a chance yet. But yeah, that there was an addition after the original structure was built, but I think still 19th century. And then there's the 20th century, like 1960s edition, which is
So I
the
think
kitchen.
this was the
which is what we're
original
talking
house. I
about.
think this was an addition, and then that was another addition. But again, in any event, this is not being taken down either.
Well, that,
Yeah.
because that part is considered architecturally significant,
Yes,
the initial first addition.
correct.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we consider that all part of the original house. So like, we're not touching any of that. We're just focused on the 1960s edition that's at the back there.
I have personally no objection to that small part of the house being demolished. And with the proposed addition. I think we are, the house is lucky to have found new owners that are so passionate about historic preservation and about the history of the house. That's just my opinion.
I kind of agree with you, Nancy, and the back of that house, I think with the tree stumps holding it up, I think it's eventually gonna fall down anyway. But whoever did the paint job on that house did a great job. I've been by it before, noticed it definitely. I used to live
That was
on
Vern.
Yale Avenue.
Yeah, that was Vern, our neighbor in the purple house, a couple.
Oh, Vern's Wicker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. The Church Street family, okay, Lafayette Street.
Our neighbors
Okay.
have been really welcoming. It's been really nice. They have all the history.
Okay, well, that's great. Do any of the other members of the commission have any objections to the plan as presented? Okay. Hearing none, it seems like you get a nod of approval from us.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it. I just didn't want to have them start the project and get one of those phone calls, Nancy, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't like those phone calls
No,
either.
so I thought it would be appropriate to come to you guys in advance, and we very much appreciate the opportunity to present it and have the discussion. So I'll present to the building inspector if it's okay that you have no issues, and obviously if he needs to reach out to you, he can.
Yep, I will send him an email as well.
That will be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in, and good luck to you, and welcome to Wakefield. I guess it's a little late.
Thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
And Laura, Nancy might have some history of the house if you're interested, I'm sure.
Yes. If I get your email from Brian, is that okay? I will follow up.
Sure.
Awesome.
Everybody emails me.
Perfect. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Good night. Okay, so we have moved on to item 9 in our agenda. A lot of stuff in our agenda tonight. And it is the old demolition delay bylaw. Thank God no one has sent us a recent request to demolish anything yet this month. However, we have that outstanding issue of the fact that we had brought the an amendment to the demolition delay bylaw in 2018 that would have the applicant have to pay for the permit. I mean, or at least $250 of the permit. In the past 2 months, we've spent $720 on 2 ads at the item. And since, you know, the town meeting had passed this amendment, but through a series of snafus, it never got transmitted to the Attorney General for review. And anyway, so been complaining about this steadily for 5 years. So eventually Steve Mayo actually watched the transcript of the town meeting and found that, yes, everything that we had been saying was absolutely true. And Erin Kakinda, who works at the town hall, reached out to the Attorney General's office, and they say now that as long as the town hall can confirm that the correct information was posted in the Wakefield item and followed all posting procedures, the bylaw will finally be securely amended.
Wow. 4 years.
I know.
Hmm.
How about that? It only took 5 years. That I haven't heard anything since February 9th. But this would be great if we didn't have to worry about, you know, not spending our money until the very end of the year, you know, the fiscal year. It's a problem. So that's the update.
I think the postings have gone up by about 50% too, haven't they? The cost,
Yeah, the cost is really significant. Yeah. But anyway, so I'll keep you posted. Hopefully by the time the town meeting actually rolls around, then maybe it will have been passed by then. I don't know. And the mechanics of who bills the petitioner will still have to be worked out, but I'm gonna let the town hall people figure that out, I think. Okay. Now, in other matters, does anybody have any other matters to discuss? Dan, you usually have something.
Maybe we should look into the John A. Volpe plaque that was on that new building down in Water Street. See if they're
Yeah.
gonna famous person in the town of Wakefield.
We have the owner is getting the plaque.
Okay.
He is. We've been in discussion with him for several years with this. And we had okayed the wording, which is basically the same wording that was on the original plaque. And it was just a question of the color of the plaque and everything else. And the placement of the plaque where it will be visible right on Water Street, right next to the door. So definitely on a par with the original plaque that I think was bought by Sam Benedetto way back when. So that is being handled. Anything else? Okay, the only other issue is if you needed to reapply for the Historical Commission and you haven't done so yet, please consider doing so. We don't want to lose anyone. And as I mentioned to you, Therese, you could apply because Jean Moulton and Jen Osterhout are both resigned from the commission over the past year. And so there is an opening for a voting member.
Yeah, I actually sent my application right after you told me I could, so.
Okay, all
it's
right,
all set.
all
Also-
righty.
Nancy, one other thing is, now that you remind me, the fencing there at the old burial ground. I know they were supposed to put in wooden fencing, take away those chains. Have they come back to you or asked what a design or?
That is on my list to remind them. However, Bill Renault, the town engineer, had told us last year that was always in the plans that would happen during the spring and summer of this year. That's the fencing near the old burying ground and the fencing in back of the Hartshorn house, which is almost totally fallen down by this point. So that I will reach out to him though.
Because if I remember years ago, there was a couple of sections still left towards the Congo church. And I believe they were white, like cedar fencing that were kind of like a scalloped curve.
Well, I have pictures of a plain picket fence, and that was what we had requested. That was, that we had historic pictures of the way that the fence used to be before it, and the granite posts are actually original to, well, I don't know original to when, but they definitely predated the photographs that were taken in the 1920s.
And I think with the added addition of the fencing there, the white fencing, it'll make that floral way look great in the springtime with the flowers. It'll look something to look at.
I think it will, Dan. I think I'm resistant to change, but the changes that they made with regard to the flowers and the trees, I mean, they planted wildflowers on that ledge coming down, and they had to replace some of the trees, which had gotten old and needed to be replaced. So, yeah.
We might also consider maybe rather than some signage there, something like an interpretive panel that could be laid out that would talk about the old burying grounds.
Also a good idea. Why don't we move that up on our list? Maybe we can even afford something like that at the end of this fiscal year. who knows? I don't know how much fit.
Hopefully we have no snow and the town will have a lot of money left over in the snow and ice budget.
Don't count it out yet, Dan.
Might have cursed us already, I don't know.
Knock wood on that. Okay. Does anybody have anything else? All right, then. Well, I thank you all very much for coming and look forward to seeing you next month when the meeting will be when. Get my calendar out.
So the third, do you want the third Tuesday?
Yeah, is that what we've been doing?
That would be the 21st.
The 21st. Is that okay with everybody? All right. Okay. See you then on March 21st. So thank you all. See you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.